Hey, indie filmmakers, I'm Griffin Hammond.
I'm Nick Bodmer, and on this week's episode, Griffin solves a strange infrared mystery, and we attend the DOCUTAH Film Festival.
Plus, your questions about green screen problems, editing short films, and entering film festivals. In fact, we're here for a film festival.
Yes.
This is the campus of Dixie State University, and we were just at DOCUTAH, which wrapped up last night.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me along with you.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
exciting.
And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes, but I want to start with a mystery that I've been dealing with. You know that I converted my Panasonic GH4 to infrared.
You did.
Let's see what you look like in infrared.
Great, I'm sure.
Actually, you look pretty normal in infrared. Here, what do I look like?
Let's see.
Are my eyes black?
Your eyes are a little black. You've got a purple beard.
Yeah.
It's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
It's looking pretty
So
good.
the world looks pretty interesting in infrared. Trees turn white. There's a lot of contrast in the sky. One of the reasons I got it. And I was excited to bring it here to Utah. And we'll talk about some of the infrared shooting that we did yesterday. But the first thing that happened to me, I want to show you a picture
Okay.
of what happened with this camera.
This is a real mystery. He wouldn't let me see anything.
So here's a picture that I took with the camera.
Okay.
What are you seeing here?
Okay, let me take a look. There is some sort of purple haze in the bottom of the screen. Looks like something on a lens element or something.
Yeah, so this is a photo of me. It looks relatively normal, and then it has this like light leak
Yeah.
weird thing, like these little blue streaks of light in the bottom right corner of the image.
Yep.
So I just thought that's like a lens flare or something, right?
Sure.
But then I started to notice I was taking photos with the body cap on. And
Oh,
this is what I was getting.
still there.
Yeah, so now we're looking at just a black image with just these leaks in the corner.
How? So it's not light because there's no light getting into the sensor.
Right, that's what I figured. It can't be light if I'm not letting anything in, except that could it be...
Like they didn't get the case back on the right way or something.
Yeah, or I was thinking like just light from inside the camera somehow. Like
There's a light in there. I doubt it.
I know.
Okay, you've intrigued me with the mystery.
Right. So I tried all sorts of different photo, like shutter speeds. I was trying fast shutter, slow shutter. Didn't matter. It was always there. This little light in the corner. And granted, I didn't know if it would matter too much when I go outside and shoot in high exposure. Maybe it'll wash this thing away. But it still was bothering me.
Something's not right.
And I also figured the company that did the conversion, Kalari Vision, at first I thought, oh, they screwed up my sensor. Like they screwed up the filter they put on. But once I started taking photos in the dark of nothing and I'm getting it, I was thinking, okay, well, it can't be their problem. Like, they didn't introduce something that's like messing with light coming in because no light's coming in. It's something internal to the camera.
Okay.
I wondered maybe is the camera getting hot inside and we're seeing like heat or something? I don't know.
Okay, yeah, now I need the answer.
Well, the first thing I noticed was I switched to electronic shutter
Uh-huh.
and it went away. So I wasn't getting it in video and I wasn't getting it in photos if I turned on the electronic shutter.
So the shutter's not closing all the way?
Well, still, we're not getting any light in the camera, so it shouldn't have to do with the shutter completely closing down or not. But it made me think, if there's light inside the camera, maybe it's bouncing off the back of the shutter
Okay.
because it's not there when the shutter's not going. Although then again, that I don't know, that confuses me even more because the shutter's not really part of the. Well, no, it is part of the exposure, I guess. But I kept messing around, and finally, I emailed these photos to Kalari Vision, and let me just read you what they said.
Okay.
Let's see. They said there is an internal IR diagnostic LED that some Panasonic cameras use to validate the shutter speed that the IR-sensitive camera can detect. Usually, this only occurs in certain shutter speeds and does not happen with electronic shutter. So, it sounds like the GH4 has some sort of internal lamp
That it uses to track the shutter movement.
right,
Interesting.
that would not normally be a problem in visible light.
Right.
You would not see this thing. But it's creating this little blue glow in my images.
Interesting. And it is reflecting off the back of the shutter. You were right about that.
Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure
Yeah.
which part of the exposure it's coming in. I'm not sure which direction this light is, but it's happening during that process.
Yeah, it must be on the sensor side of the
That's
shutter.
what I was thinking, yeah.
And when the shutter's closing, it's reflecting the light back.
Right.
in front of the sensor.
Yeah, because the IR lamp would have to be on.
The sensor side of the shutter.
Presumably, it would have to be on for before and after the exposure and during the exposure,
The whole movement of the shutter.
so that it could figure out when the shutter's open, when it's closed.
So were you able to turn this off, or you just don't use these modes, or use e-shutter in these situations?
I can't figure out a way to turn off the IR lamp except for not using the shutter. And I asked Panasonic about it, and I'm probably not talking to the right people yet who know definitively the answer. But it does sound like the GH4 would use an IR lamp because it can do shutter speeds that are really fast.
Yep.
Like 1/8,000th of a second.
Jeez.
And you figure the difference between 1/8,000th of a second and 1/4,000th of a second is so minuscule in terms of timing, but it's half as much exposure.
Exactly.
So it's very important that the camera can measure that the shutter's
Accurately,
doing
yeah.
it right, so it can correct it.
Interesting.
So I guess what I have found is when I shoot, even with the shutter, if I'm out in light like this, it doesn't seem to matter. But
Real
for
low
indoors,
light.
low light, then it really shows up.
So then you just put an e-shutter on and
Yeah.
move on with your life.
Yeah.
All right.
But weird mystery.
And you found for me that my camera was in e-shutter mode, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah, that's because you put it in silent mode.
Thinking I was just getting rid of the beeps,
Right.
but I was silent shooting.
Yeah.
And actually, do you find this when I'm shooting photos? It's much more satisfying to feel the shutter move. Like I feel like I'm
Yes.
taking better photos just because it's clicking.
Yeah.
Which I know makes no sense, but I feel like, oh, I just took a real photo, not like
Right.
a fake photo. I don't know.
I feel that way too, and that's why it kind of bothers me that I had to turn the shutter off. So, I want to start with a question as we continue to talk about infrared. We did get a YouTube comment from Adventures in Fabrication, who was wondering, looking at the photos I've taken in infrared, did I shoot these in the dark?
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm actually, I want a lot of sunlight. But he is right. A lot of people pointed out that infrared light was traditionally used in like camcorders for night vision.
Sure. I think our high school cameras had in night vision mode.
Right.
It had an IR lamp.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the key, is that it had a lamp.
Yeah.
So it's like blasting IR light, which is invisible to the human eye, but it's pretty much having a lamp on the top of your camera. But he was a little bit confused because he thought that we shouldn't be able to see anything unless it's like heat. Like IR shoots heat, right?
And that's just different parts of the spectrum, basically.
Yeah. I mean, infrared is a large spectrum of light, different wavelengths, and there are like the thermal imaging stuff. I think it's called long wavelength.
Okay.
And I'm in the near infrared spectrum, which is much closer to visible light, but just outside visible light.
Yeah, you're in my favorite nanometer. We discussed that last time, I think.
720
Yeah.
nanometers.
Yeah.
Another common IR question that I was seeing in the comments was about, can you see through clothing?
Yes. Yeah, that's why Griffin bought it.
There are some things you can see through, like sunglasses.
Yeah.
But clothing, not so much. I mean, there are some materials, I suppose. Infrared does see a little bit below the surface of the skin. And I do remember when we had those handy cams back in high school that could shoot infrared, I had heard that you could see through clothing. But,
Creepy. Good.
but I think you would need some really powerful IR, maybe a different wavelength. But yeah, I'm not seeing.
No.
Yeah, I think most clothing is thick enough.
You guys are safe.
So what did we do yesterday?
What did we do yesterday? We packed up our gear and headed up to Zion National Park.
Yeah.
Which was gorgeous.
Yeah. This was like the reason I was excited to get an infrared camera was to go to desert scapes and see big skies and rocks and trees and all that. So we got some cool stuff.
Cool photos. I think some really awesome time lapses. We were kind of looking at those this morning that you put together.
I shot a series of time lapses in infrared, and you shot a series of time lapses with your
In regular light.
visible light. Wow.
Yes.
That could work really well for video.
Yeah. And of course, yours look better.
Well, mine look different. They're
Unique.
They're different color scheme. I mean, they're seeing completely different things, which was interesting to compare the two. What's the thing you're most excited about that you got yesterday?
I think it's some of the still photos I got. We went to this place called the Court of the Patriarchs.
Yes.
Which is three tall, what'd you call them? prominences,
monoliths. I don't
yeah,
know, big rock
mountain
outcroppings.
points, which were very cool looking. And I got some shots there that I'm pretty excited about.
And you haven't shot a lot of time lapses in your life.
No, this is like my second time ever shooting time lapses. So
Yeah.
I got 3 different time lapses, I think, of okay quality. We'll share them.
Yeah, everything looks super cool.
I kind of wish we had more time there. We kind of had like the afternoon to kind of squeeze in the trip.
Yeah.
I could definitely see spending multiple days at a park like this, just finding all kinds of cool stuff.
Oh yeah. And then we had to get back for the awards ceremony for DOCUTAH.
And were you a big winner, Griffin?
I did not win, no. But
Dang.
I think I might have won the award for shortest film at the festival.
Yeah, you were mentioned during the awards ceremony.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't an award, but they pointed out the fact that my film was only 5 minutes.
And they still gave it a full-page spread in the program. They were
Yes.
like, even Handcut, the shortest documentary, got a full page.
Yeah. I will say that the documentaries I saw at the festival are very good. This is a festival that clearly cares about the quality of films, and they bring great films. So it was an honor to be a part of it. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate getting to show. This is my second time showing at DOCUTAH. Thank you. This was the second time that I was in DOCUTAH.
Sriracha played here, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, or 3 years ago.
3 years ago,
Yeah.
okay.
And then I got in again with Handcut. I think it's probably easier to get into a film festival if you've gotten in before.
Yeah, because they know you and
Yeah. Also, 5-minute short film. I thought that might be pretty easy to get into festivals.
Is that pretty rare, a short film of that length?
Yeah, that's pretty short. I feel like the average length you see for like a good short film is like 10 to 12 minutes.
Mhm.
Maybe documentary skews a little bit longer. I think
Okay.
a lot of the ones here were like 20, 30 minutes
Yep.
in the shorts category. We actually got a question about film festivals, an email from Austin, who's wondering if he has a film that he made while he's a student, or while he was a student. He's not a student anymore. Can he still, in good faith, submit it to a student film festival?
Ooh.
He said he won a student award for it already, but that was over a year ago.
My guess is that each film festival will have rules about what qualifies, right? And,
I think so.
I don't know. I've never submitted to a student film festival. That's my guess, is just check the rules
Yeah.
of the film festival. My guess is some will say any film created by a student is allowed, and some will want the students to be students
Right.
at the time of the festival. So.
And I think some festivals care about only drawing from films within the last calendar year. I mean, it depends on the festival. Some festivals want really fresh content.
Yep.
Some festivals, I mean, Sriracha is still playing at festivals. Not because I'm entering it everywhere, but because people are requesting it. They're inviting me.
Interesting.
So it really does depend on the festival. But I think also he was just wondering generally like how I find film festivals and...
There's a website, right?
Well, yeah, now it's pretty easy with filmfreeway.com.
Yep.
It used to be Without a Box was the preferred platform to submit to festivals, which was not a good website.
Yeah, painful, right?
Yeah, I hear they've updated it. They're better now. But you can look in both places. And I started with festivals I've done in the past, and I can share a link in the show notes to my database of film festivals that I'm aware of. But they're pretty easy to find now.
They're advertising themselves. They want people to submit their films, so they're not hidden away.
Right, but there are a ton of them, and you do have to do a little bit of research. I found festivals that I thought would be a great fit, and then when I went and watched some of the entries at the festival, the ones they let in, I realized like, oh, I don't know if this festival is legit. It kind of seems like they just let in everything. Like maybe they just want the money.
Want the submission fees?
Yeah. So just look around and see if you would be proud to be part of that film festival.
In just a moment, we're answering your questions about green screen problems, editing short films, and entering film festivals.
The Hey Indie Filmmakers podcast is brought to you by Tongle. Nick, do you recall what Tongle is?
I believe I do, Griffin. Tongle's a creative network where anyone, anywhere has the opportunity to make content for brands and get paid.
That's right. And now, through the end of the year, Tongle is hosting a project to build out their YouTube channel with videos by and for their community members. It's called the YouTube Pilot Portal. They're open to all sorts of ideas, so if you've got a video or a series of videos in mind that would appeal to filmmakers or other creatives, pitch it to Tongle, and you could receive an offer to purchase your video or even produce more videos in the series.
Get all the details by visiting tongal.com/projects. That's TONGAL.com/projects.
And you'll also find that in the show notes if you can't remember a URL.
Which I can't. So thank you for that.
So our first question I want to go to today is actually kind of an update on our last episode. This is episode 33 of our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 32 is about swear words and censorship.
How do we number the bonus episodes? Was that 32.5?
Yeah, 32B maybe.
Okay. We had a bonus episode in there, but
A short one, yeah.
We're not going to count that.
Yeah, we've done this is our 33rd full-length episode.
Mm-hmm.
So our friend who teaches at a middle school, Danny Tanner, he wrote in last time wondering what the MPAA rating for Sriracha would be.
Which is a great question.
Yeah, a great question. And we figured out that if I paid the $2,500 to get an MPAA rating, it'd probably be G. We thought G-rated film.
G-rated, yeah. Disney, Moana style.
But it's good that Danny rewatched the film because he is a middle school teacher, has the middle school mindset, and he says he rewatched it, and he found several parts that were in question. That he would worry that maybe he would need to talk to student or parents about what he was showing his students. Do you want to read through this list of things he found that could be questionable?
So, in order of the film, somebody calls it a stoner's paradise.
I think it was like ice cream sandwiches, Sriracha ice cream sandwiches. Yeah, Stoner's Paradise. I guess that would be kind of weird for middle schoolers.
Sure. There's a reference to cock sauce, rooster sauce.
Yeah.
But middle schoolers are going to go a different direction with that, would be my guess. The word ass is in there.
Yeah, which I think I left in the film. I guess that's not one of the words I felt needed to be censored.
Yeah. Several swear words censored. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Censored.
So
seven unfriendly words.
Yeah, so several beeped out words in the film.
Yep.
And then there is hell at the end, which I didn't let go beeped.
Yeah.
So I don't know, does that change? Like, now you have young kids. Are there any of those things that would worry you? Maybe your kids are too young to...
Yeah, it almost go over their heads, some of that. So I would not be concerned with Sriracha playing while they're in the room.
Yeah. But like we said last time, maybe it's just up to those parents in the MPAA rating group that would decide. I mean,
so you think maybe this might push it up to a PG?
Maybe it's PG?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess be careful what you do with my film, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Here's a question we got on Twitter from Bill, who is wondering how we do the split screen. Today we're not doing split screen.
We can put the bar right here anyway.
We're together.
Yeah.
But I think it's a common question we get. We're not like using live software to do that shot.
Post-process magic.
It's really a very simple setup.
Yep. I shoot my video and record my audio. Griffin shoots his video, records his audio. I send him my files because I'm not going to do the editing. And
I just crop them together.
He just in Final Cut moves the two shots together.
And really, I mean, the only technology we're using to talk to each other is just a phone call. We're using FaceTime audio to hear each other.
Which doesn't even... I do record it as a backup, but
Yeah.
we're not even using the audio that we use to talk to each other.
Yeah. So pretty simple.
Yep.
Here's an email I got from Al, who says that he's new to shooting green screen, and he's working with a sports team in Australia. And I think, luckily for him, he wasn't even shooting video, or he's shooting video, but he's just going to pull stills from it. But his idea was that he could put these guys in front of a green screen, then he could remove the green screen, and have some great headshots.
Yeah.
Problem is, do you know what the national colors are in Australia?
I'm going to guess green?
Green and yellow.
Yeah.
Gold and green. So, in fact, I think I have a picture here.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be problematic.
Yeah, there's some green on that jersey. So he's wondering, what can he do now?
Well, you have now entered the world of masks, would be my guess.
Yep. Definitely. That's what I told him. I like to remember that green screen doesn't have to do 100% of your work for you. The real reason you're using it is to do the hard part, the edges.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get a keyer to key out the edges, you might get some messed up stuff in the middle.
Easy enough to fill it right back in with the selection tool.
I'll just make a duplicate layer of that person, turn off the keyer on that second layer so we're not losing the green that we're not supposed to lose, and then you just draw a mask. You can, in Final Cut, there's a draw mask effect, and you could just draw it around the part that shouldn't be keyed, and then...
Good to go.
Yeah. Now, his might be kind of problematic because the green does go right to the edge.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of work, but still not too bad.
Yeah, and those greens are a little bit different, so I think if you tweak the keyer settings, you might be able to get it to work. And then the other thing I can do is do keyframes on where that mask is. You could have a mask go to the edge of the shirt so that it's not affected by the green screen, and then just keyframe those control points of where the mask is.
Yeah.
You can have it move with the person. Like I said, luckily I think he's just working with one still, so it should be easier. But yeah, he pointed out blue screen
would have been better.
Would have been better, yeah. You want to read this email we got from Philip?
Yeah, Philip says he's a freshman in college doing engineering, but with video as kind of a side.
Yeah.
He's done a few weddings and a couple of freelance projects. He just received payment for his most recent project, $500. Good job, Philip. He's hoping to use it on some new gear. He's got a Canon T3i with a 50mm prime and an 18 to 15mm kit lens. Should he use the money now to spring for a GH4 and a micro four third lens to get me started in nicer cameras? Or should he make do for the next few weddings and save up for the GH5?
That's a tough question. I mean, those are both good options. They're both smart options. I guess my instinct is always to say, don't buy new equipment until you've maxed out the capability of your current gear.
Sure.
I think most of us have that gear lust where we always feel like we need the newest stuff. And I do that. I bought the Spark, which we were flying around.
This thing is awesome. Actually, what you should do is buy this instead and just fly it around because it's so much fun.
In fact, don't let me forget, at the end of the show we need to talk about the setting you changed on the Spark.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I find myself buying new stuff, but like if you're fine, if you're able to shoot the weddings that you're shooting and you're making money, I don't know if you need to upgrade right away.
Yeah, and again, I think whatever you do, spending more money on lenses is going to be a better option than the body. So for me, I think if you could get a GH3 and the lenses you know are like the lenses you want for the kind of work you do, I think that's a great option. Yeah. I mean, I shot out on the GH2 up until very recently, so
yeah.
And then when I got the G85, all my lenses just moved right over.
Right.
So,
and if you don't need 4K, I do think the GH3 is still a great camera.
Yep.
And I looked it up. I think you can buy a used GH3 for like $350 or $450 somewhere in there.
Especially starting out, it's hard to say no, wait, and spend 4 times as much on a GH5. Right. Unless 4K is critical.
Right.
Even then, you can look at the GH4, which I bet is a pretty good value now.
Yeah. And a good point he makes is that if he is thinking in the future he wants to jump to a Panasonic camera, maybe he should get the GH3 to get those lenses.
Yep.
But, I mean, you have a prime right now and you have a zoom lens. Like, that's what most people need for their kit. So it sounds like you're pretty good for the moment.
Yep. We got a tweet from Trace Collins who wants to know, what was the hardest part of editing Sriracha?
I think just the number of hours of stuff. It was 32 hours of footage for a 33-minute film.
And you actually went and transcribed all of the interviews, is that right?
Yeah, kind of a rough transcription. I don't need every word. I don't need to get the ums. But I did generally want the gist of everything, just kind of the major statements and thoughts, so that I would have a searchable database, which came in handy because with that many hours of interviews, I can't remember what I've gotten.
Right.
So I had my friend Skylar Guyman help me transcribe the interviews, organize them, and then later, when I'm editing and I realize I need more quotes about Vietnam, I could just search the index in Final Cut, because I actually named all the clips the transcription.
Oh, nice.
It was crazy. You can name the clips like 5 sentences. I mean, probably even more than that. So I could search in the index in Final Cut and find, oh, there's a Vietnam quote. I'll pull that out. But yeah, I found that with that much content, I was like throwing away things that I didn't realize later I would want. Like, there's no way to wrap my brain around all of that and realize what is going to go in the film.
Yep.
It takes a long time.
All right, we got an email from Daniel with 2 questions. I don't know. Should we let him have both questions?
He can have both.
All right,
this time.
This time. He says he wants to get more freelance work, and he knows that word of mouth is a big help to getting more jobs. He wants to know how you got your first got into wedding videography, and if you have any tips for finding other local video jobs.
Well, we got into it through high school.
Yeah, like literally we were the video kids and teachers getting married were like, come take a video of our wedding. We're like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's what getting jobs in the video industry is networking. Like, you can't get video jobs by just like sitting in your room editing all the time.
Right.
Like, you have to be part of a community in high school or in college, or find like
local business groups. Or
when I lived in Illinois, there was the Champaign movie makers. I would drive to Champaign every month and meet these people because eventually someone's going to have a video need and they're going to ask their friends, who do you know?
Yep.
I feel like that's every job I've ever gotten is, who do you know?
And somebody says, I know this guy named
I know
Griffin.
Griffin, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened when we were young because we were in the video class. It happens now because we run into friends and they're reminded of what we do.
And sometimes other filmmakers get you jobs. Like you got me a gig when you were in New York. Somebody needed some camera work for an American Express commercial or something. And you're like, oh, talk to Nick. And so I got a little gig out of that. So thanks for that.
I mean, I think we've tried all those things like getting business cards and running ads on Facebook and having a strong website. But I feel like it always just comes back to do a lot of work, make sure people have seen it, so people think of you when these opportunities come up. I feel like it's not going to be me finding the opportunities, it's going to be someone I know finding an opportunity for me.
Yep. But again, for me, I've said this before, I did use some of those wedding websites where you have to pay to be listed, and those did work for me. So something to check out.
His second question is about Handcut, the film that brought us here to Utah. He's wondering what the process is from start to finish to shoot that. And he also knows it's used as a promo video by Panasonic to promote the GH4, but he was wondering if it was entirely my project or how they were involved. Also wondering where the inspiration came from. So I was in a bar with my wife, saw a big block of ice, thought that could be...
That's cool. What is that?
Yeah. And at the same time, Panasonic had asked me to shoot a documentary with the GH4, but they were very open to letting me shoot whatever I wanted to shoot. And so I think about a month before I shot it, I had this inspiration.
Yeah.
And they were okay with that, so I shot it. But yeah, they weren't involved. They didn't ask me to re-edit it or anything. I think
they just said, make something, and you gave it to them, and they said, great, thanks.
Right. I imagine if I had made a bad film, they would have maybe said, hey, could you go back and not put in all those terrible shots? Or something, I don't know. But no, I think they were happy with it. So, I mean, the process was maybe 5 days of shooting. I think I was probably in production for 30 hours or so, and then edited for maybe 80 hours or something like that.
Was that, I mean, knowing while you were shooting that this was going to be used as a kind of a promo for a new camera, does that add a layer of pressure to like make these perfect shots?
Yes, and it changes the way I edit. Sometimes when I edit for tutorial videos or just showing off what I've, a trip that I've gone on, I'm not always worried about showing a bad shot. Sometimes a bad shot tells the story.
Tells the story, yeah.
But yeah, when I'm showing off a camera, I am thinking, okay, every shot is going to be scrutinized. They need to be good shots. They need to be color corrected correctly if they need that. Yeah, it does change that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
In fact, I just put out a new film for Panasonic.
Oh.
This is a series of videos that I've gone around the world to profile some photographers, and the first one just came out. So I'll put a link in the show notes to this film about my trip to Switzerland with photographer Ben Grunow.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like 3.5 minutes. It's just him using cameras, but it's really us just hiking through the mountains together. It's fun.
That's awesome.
And it was one of those things where I was trying to just show shots that made it look beautiful.
Made it look amazing, yeah. 4K 60p again?
Yeah, I shot in 4K 60p. This time not to deliver it in 4K 60 like Handcut, but so that I could deliver it in 4K at 30 frames a second and have slow motion sometimes.
Oh, okay, beautiful.
So our final question today is actually my question. I submitted a question.
For me?
No, it's not for you. It's for them. It's for the audience.
For the audience. All right.
I'm just curious because we've been talking a lot about lenses and there's a lot of lenses I love for my cameras. The one kind of lens I don't have is a power zoom lens. You know what I'm talking about?
You meaning like on a camcorder where you have a rocker and a motorized zoom happens.
Yeah. I think
so
sometimes
it's nice and smooth.
on some cameras they call it a servo zoom. Yeah. I haven't had a servo zoom since our camcorders, the Sony Handycams.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had to abandon that when we went to the GH1, and when I started shooting mirrorless cameras, got used to the fact that I'm not gonna have a zoom like that anymore. I'm not gonna be able to do like a smooth wedding zoom. I'll just have to do the quick lens zoom. Do you miss that?
I just feel like it's just not how I shoot anymore.
Right.
But is that because I don't have it? I don't know. So I'm interested to hear what people have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling is if I was shooting events, maybe I would want that beautiful, perfect zoom. But for the most part, because I'm shooting events with multiple cameras, I could do a quick, ugly zoom, and it doesn't matter. I'm going to cut to the other camera.
Yep.
And yeah, it's changed my style. And I find that most cinematic kind of shooting doesn't use zooms. So I don't know. I want to know in the comments if you could share your thoughts on, would you use a power zoom? Is that something you still use or miss because you're using DSLRs or mirrorless cameras? Just curious.
So one of the things that I wish we could have done at Zion is get that drone up in the air.
Yeah.
It would have been amazing.
But we figured national park, federal land, I don't think we're allowed to.
No,
there.
I think they've banned drones at national parks.
And it was pretty crowded there, so I would not have felt terribly comfortable flying there if I could.
But man, can you imagine the shots?
Yeah.
It would have been insane.
We did get some cool shots around St. George, and was this your first time flying the Spark?
It was my first time flying the Spark,
Yeah.
I've flown other quadcopters before, but this is the most advanced quadcopter I've ever flown. And I think I'm going to have to buy one.
Yeah,
I'm not joking.
Well, yeah, we had a lot of fun with it. And probably one of the coolest things was the last night of the film festival, they did an awards ceremony up on this hill overlooking St. George.
Yeah.
In an airplane hangar.
Yeah. But don't call it the hangar.
Right, yeah. It's the DSU film studio.
That's right.
Yeah. My question for the people when I first arrived was, is this still an airport? Because it's not. I was thinking, one, if it's an airport, you definitely cannot fly your drone there.
Yeah.
But if it's not an airport, but it was an airport, this is the perfect place to fly a drone.
Yes.
So I got some great shots while we were up there. And then you took over control.
I basically was like, give me the controller. And I was like, I noticed on the remote, there's a switch. It says sport mode.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm flipping that switch.
Which, in the back of my mind, I knew what sport mode was, that it makes it faster, quicker turning or something, but I'd never tried it.
So I flipped it into sport mode, and it's what, 2 or 3 times faster?
Yeah.
It's pretty limited. I mean, it's beautiful in non-sport mode, just these smooth motions. But if you really want to zip around, sport mode was pretty cool.
Well, and we were amazed that the gimbal still makes a really smooth shot even in sport mode.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I can run as fast as sport mode. I don't think I could keep up.
Well,
I want to try
we're going to
it.
do a race.
We could do it here.
Yeah. So look for that shot. Maybe after we record this, we're going to go shoot some in sport mode.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it for us this week. I don't know where we'll be next week. Back home.
I'll be back in Vegas.
Yeah, I'll be back in New York. And we'll take more of your questions.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
We'll talk to you later.
Like sriracha cookies or something.
Oh, Griffin.
For whose podcast do the bells toll? Okay. Now we gotta wait.
Now we gotta
toll
9 times. This seems like a good chance for a water break.
Yeah.